Hi, I'm Chloe, and I'm a professional scientist. That basically means I get paid to do science. But there are also members of the general public who are involved in science in more of a voluntary capacity. They often work in collaboration with or under the direction of professional scientists. And this group of people are called citizen scientists. The practice of citizen science is defined as public participation or non-professional scientists conducting scientific research. People who participate may not necessarily have formal training, but they volunteer their time for scientific discovery. Since citizen science has gained momentum in recent years, there was an effort by an international community of citizen scientists and researchers to develop a framework against which to assess new and existing initiatives. A list of 10 core principles were developed with the aim of fostering high-quality practices across citizen science. The first principle is that citizen science projects must actively involve citizens in a scientific endeavour that generates new knowledge or understanding. Citizens should have a meaningful role, whether that be as a contributor, a collaborator, or a leader. There should also be a genuine scientific outcome, such as answering a specific research question. And both the professional scientist and the citizen scientist should benefit. So this might include by having research publications, education opportunities, or perhaps social benefits. Citizen scientists aren't limited to a particular part of the project either. They can participate in multiple stages of the scientific process, such as the design, data collection, analysis, or by generating outputs. Whatever stage of the process the citizen science is involved in, they should receive some sort of feedback from the project, such as how the data are being used or some of the outputs. Like with any other research approach, citizen science approaches have limitations, and these should be considered and controlled for in a project. Citizen science project data and metadata should be made publicly available, and where possible, results are published in an open access format. Citizen scientists should also be acknowledged in the project results and in publications for their contribution. Citizen science programs should be evaluated against their scientific outputs, their data quality, their participant experience, and wider societal or policy impacts. And finally, the leaders of a science program need to take into consideration legal and ethical issues, as with any other project they might conduct. One of the many motivations for citizen science is that we can collect large amounts of data, far more than we can do by ourselves or as a group of professional scientists. The UK's biggest bird survey is a great example of this. The Big Garden Birdwatch takes place every year across the UK, and participants are asked to record bird species sightings. In 2020, nearly 500,000 people counted almost 8 million birds, identifying the most common species across the UK. The Birdwatch began back in 1979 and has been running every year since. And so the RSPB are able to look at how well bird populations are doing and which species are on the decline. This sort of research would be impossible to conduct without the help from members of the public. Drawing on the power of a large number of participants also enables us to make some significant scientific discoveries. A medical example is the protein folding problem. Proteins are part of so many diseases, and knowing how these proteins fold is key to understanding and targeting them with drugs. There are countless ways a protein can fold, but only a specific way that will make it really stable. Identifying this stable shape can be very time-consuming, and so in 2011, the Fold It game was released to members of the public to try and find the stable shape of specific proteins. The biggest discovery to date has been solve the Mason-Pfizer monkey virus problem. Scientists tried for many years, but it took citizen science program just 3 weeks to solve. One of the current challenges on Fold-It is looking at designing an antiviral protein for coronavirus. If you're interested, check out the QR code at the bottom of the screen. Citizen science can be used for really practical purposes as well, and has proven to be successful, for example, in disaster risk reduction. Projects like My Volcano, developed by the British Geological Survey, collect photographs and descriptions of volcanic hazards as they occur. Using this citizen science approach, vast amounts of data can be collected about volcanic hazards worldwide, which advances the scientific knowledge. It can be used to provide early warnings of hazards and can help to inform the management of impacts. With so many people involved in projects like this, it's also an opportunity to bridge the gap between scientists, citizen scientists, and policymakers. Often, outputs of scientific research is limited to academic publications and papers that are not always accessible to all interested groups of people. Involving people in the scientific process in some way, whether it be collecting or analysing data, makes the research more accessible to them. And as per the 10 principles of citizen science that we discussed earlier, the design of science programs like this should be that the data and outputs are made available. Improving communication between interested parties and having more open conversations about research and research outputs can provide education and learning opportunities. H2O Watch is a citizen science-based program that is specifically designed with education in mind. It involves chemical analysis of various parameters such as temperature and pH that tells you about the health of streams. The chemical analysis is done using simple test kits, which are available for loan to schools, community groups and organisations for free. Not only does the project collect this valuable data, but it raises public awareness about the importance of healthy streams and raises the profile of analytical chemistry. One of the major challenges associated with citizen science is having trust in the validity of the data. For instance, using data collected by citizen scientists to identify when coastal impacts occur, such as flooding or erosion, will inevitably contain bias. This could be for a number of reasons, including how individuals define what an impact is. However, studies have shown that impacts derived from complex models and those from citizen science show remarkable similarities. And in fact, there are cases where social media has reported greater accuracy in identifying when coastal impacts occur compared to these complex models. As we have already highlighted in the 10 principles, citizen science, as with any research approach, has its limitations and data errors, and these need to be considered. We factor these potential errors into our research as we would any kind of data that we collect. The success of a citizen science project is in engagement by citizen scientists. If people don't engage, the project fails. And this can be a major challenge as well. And so designing a project that gains publicity and so it maintains momentum is vital and an ongoing job. We're looking here on this slide at engagement of the public over the first year of the CoSnap project. I'm going to talk a little more about this project in the next slide, but essentially the project requires that members of the public submit photographs of the beach to our social media site. The project began in January 2020 and it had a lot of engagement. It was new. People wanted to check it out. Then we got plunged into lockdown and people weren't able to, and we discouraged them from participating in the project. This is quite clear in the data, where we have a significant reduction in the number of photographs submitted. And there's also a peak in June when we had a brief timeout of lockdown over here in Victoria. Now that Australia has relaxed its restrictions, we're starting to get more photographs again. It's going to be really important now to keep that momentum going and keep collecting more data and interest in the project. A final challenge that I want to highlight is obtaining funding and resources for citizen science. It's not always factored into research projects as a primary approach to collecting or analysing data, and this can make it challenging to do because of time, resource and funding constraints. This is starting to change, and identifying the value of citizen science not only for the advancement of science, but also for the benefits of those who participate, will hopefully encourage greater support for it. The last thing I want to talk about is a citizen science project that I have been involved in for my research. I'm currently working as a postdoctoral research fellow at the University of Melbourne, investigating coastal change. To properly manage our coastal systems, we need to understand how and why they change through time, for instance due to erosion. In order to do this, we need to record how the system changes in some way. Ideally, for what I'm interested in, I'd like to look at changes as regularly as possible. The photos here are showing the same beach at different times in Inverloch. This beach is one of my main study sites located in the state of Victoria in southeast Australia. But I live 2.5 hours drive away from this area, so I can't regularly take measurements of how the beach width is changing, whether the shoreline position moves, or how the beach responds to a storm. But even if I was to live next to this beach, it still wouldn't be practical for me to survey it every day. And this is where CoSnap comes in. CoSnap is a community-based beach monitoring program that was initially started in 2017 as a collaboration between the University of New South Wales and the New South Wales government. As you can see from this photograph, we have installed a phone holder that points towards the beach in Inverloch. Members of the public take a photograph from this spot, submit it to us via social media, and we then collate all the photographs for analysis. Since the photographs are taken in the same position each time, we can overlay them and measure how the beach changes through time. The CoSnap station was installed in Inverloch in January 2020, and here is just a collection of the photos that we were submitted in the first 3 months of its lifetime. Not only have we been able to collect valuable data about how this coastal system is changing through CoSnap, we have also had incredible engagement with the local community. Moving from this point forward, we're now starting to analyse the first year's worth of data to feed back to the local and academic community. So to wrap up, here's a recap of what we've looked at. Citizen science is defined as the practice of public participation in scientific research. We have a set of 10 core principles that we can use to help guide the design of high-quality citizen science projects. There are a wide range of opportunities associated with using citizen science as a research method, including collecting a vast amount of data, making scientific discoveries, using it for specific causes like disaster risk reduction, and providing communication and education opportunities. There are also some challenges to be aware of, including gaining trust in the validity of the data, maintaining engagement, which is key to the success of a project, and obtaining funding and resources to support these initiatives. That's all I'm going to cover today, but if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me via the details below. Thank you.